Good morning, good morning. How are you today? I'd like to give you some information concerning geology, sedimentology, archeology of Oazis Fayum. This region was tested by Polish, Egyptian group of scientists working on, especially on archaeological sites representing transition between Neolithic and early dynastic time. So we work at this area, region of Castel Saga. I show you after a minute this region, and this is Lake Moeris, old lake without outflow. This lake react on the rains and dry episodes. This reaction was seen in sediments as deposition of various deposits, and especially interesting was the oscillation of the lake shore according to rains, because there was no outflow. This level of the lake was elevated during wet seasons, and during dry seasons the surface of the lake went down. And interesting is that archaeological sites from this time migrated with the shore of the lake according to elevation and reduction of the level of the lake. So archaeological sites when lake was peak according to rains were relatively far from the center of the lake. When the time was dry, climatic characteristic was dry, the size of the lake was reduced, and together with the reduction of the size, peoples and archaeological sites migrated to the center of the lake. So we have situation very special. If it's wet and rainy, lake is big and sites are there. When the season time is dry, size of the lake is reduced and sites are near of the center of the lake. Because my friends work on the archaeological problems, we discover plenty of various archaeological sites, especially interesting where this was this time of transition between Neolithic and early dynastic, old time. So was chance for datation of these sites because there were fireplaces with charcoal, and charcoal was sent for C14 datation. And according to oscillation of the sites, confirming oscillation of the shore of the lake and confirming changes of the climate, I did reconstruction of about 8,000-9,000 years. This time is very interesting because first was developed Sahara, and next start to be created dynastic time. So it's very interesting. So field photos show general pictures of the area. Pictures are about 50 years old, so quality of this photo is not best, but what to do. There is a region of Castle Saga where we did examination, archaeology and geology and everything what was possible. This is picture of surrounding Jebel, built of neogenic sandstones, very beautiful, and cliff look like this, with some caves, but not karstic caves of unknown origin, plenty of fauna, mollusks and various organisms, mostly silicated. And this is picture from a small Roman town, Roman town called Dime, to the area of Jebel, and this is Jebel Katrani, where are these old quarries of magmatic rocks, very beautiful. Present these rocks and sculptures made using these rocks are in most of important archaeological objects. And there is more or less at this place is Castle Saga, place of our work. And this is flat bottom of old lake. The lake shore was more or less at this line. Arrows show this shore, and this shore, according to the rains, migrated there and there. Our car, Arabia Hamra, and this is shore, old lake shore with sediments, lake marls, diatoms, this light, and aeolian sands on top on them. This is again area near old lake shore. The lake shore was more or less at this line and migrated there and there according to rains, because as I said, there was not outflow at this seashore, at this lake shore. And this is area near Castle Saga, showing photos, old, black and white, showing way of presence of oldest sediments of lake marls, diatoms. This white was shown by blue arrows. This is our car, and this is area of the old lake. And the next we have outcrops, small hills, small profiles of next younger sediments. There are white silty sands called WSS, and this is area of this bottom of old this lake. It's interesting because we drive the car at many places and we find, for example, old amphora and various objects transported using boats when the lake was big, and probably boats fall down and concentrations of amphora we find on the bottom of this old lake. Now it's desert, before was lake. And next generation of sediments, younger, brownish sands that are localized near of Jebel in form like this, very small profiles, and understanding of sedimentation of all these sands and other sediments was done on the base of united profiles. All these profiles were collected to one profile for understanding of phenomenon, because one profile, half a meter long, didn't give any important information. Sorry. And this is example of fireplace, Neolithic fireplace, localized at top of white silty sands, WSS, with fragments of pottery. These arrows show fragments of pottery, with, of course, implements made using flints, etc. And of course, this lake was in the past localized near of lake shore, and later when were rains and lake level was elevated, this fireplace was covered with younger deposits of white silty sands with a mixture of clays, etc., etc. And over these white silty sands there are brownish sands of very composed genesis. Geological data of sediments obtained from fireplaces. First is oldest are lake marls diatoms, diatomics. Data obtained from lakes from charcoal from fireplaces at these deposits show data oldest 8.8 thousand years up to 7.4 thousand years BP. And profile united, composed of many small profiles, look like this, that there is this lake marl diatomic sediments and intercalation of kinds of old soils. Some are burnt with charcoal, and from this were taken samples for C14 datation. And the oldest part we were able to examine is 8.8, the youngest 7.4. These sediments are older than 8.4 thousand years BP, but there is no material for datation. And there is explanation for various types of sediments, lake marls, diatomites, one, and so on, for studies next. And after sedimentation of lake marls and diatomic sediments were break with data between 7.7 and 5.0 BP, and at this time at area around lake where was no deposits, lake deposits because size of the lake was reduced, there was no rains, and climate was very dry. This was very dry phase of climate. There was no rains. At this time, in Nile Valley, there are archaeological sites in the flood zone, built architectonical object built using dried bricks. It means that in Nile Valley there was no flows, oscillation of the water. Nile was very low and was relatively easy built objects using dried bricks at near of the Nile. So this climatic situation is confirmed by break of sedimentation of Lake Moeris between 7.7 and 5.0 thousand years BP. But sites are, of course, and they were made datation, etc. And there is geological document for climatic break and the reduction of the size of the lake between deposition of Lake Mars and white silty sands. This space representing time between 7.7 and 5,000 years BP, documenting reduction of the size of the lake. Later, after this break and climatic variation and reduction of size of the lake, again were rains relatively intensive and were deposited white silty sands. The material for this light white silty sands were taken from the Jebel, because there are Jebel is built of sandstones, and material removed from Jebel was deposited to the lake. And sedimentation of white silty sands document much bigger, much greater size of the lake after this dry period. And archaeological sites at this time were localized relatively far from the center of the lake. And next we have time of sedimentation of white silty sands between 5.9 and 5.0 thousand years BP. At this time, level of the lake was up, migrated up, and were deposited silty sands with admixture of clays, etc. There is description of deposits, and this is, of course, united profile made using small profiles collected to one. And datation of these phases, 5.9 and 5.0, datation was taken from these archaeological sites. Charcoal was taken for datation. And next we have break of sedimentation between white silty sands and brownish sands at time about 5,000 years up to 1,000 years, 800 BP. At this time, climate was dry, rains were reduced, lake was without outflow, and because of this, level of the water in lake was down and down and down. Systematically, size of the lake was reduced, and archaeological sites from this time are localized near of the center of the lake. And next, there is during sedimentation of brownish sands, we have three phases, three stages of the size of the lake. First, it's between 5,000 and 1,800 BP, up to Middle Kingdom. At this time was organized a small town near of the Castle Saga, was built temple of Castle Saga, etc. But because of the reduction of the size of the lake, was created Yusuf Canal. It was canal connecting Nile with Lake Moeris. Water from the Nile was imported to the lake, to Lake Moeris, and because of this, size of the lake was very big. Because of this water from lake, from Nile transported during Yusuf Canal. And because of this, at this time, lake was very big. And next, after this period, after this phase of Great Lake, this canal didn't function well, and amount of the water transported from the Nile to Moeris Lake was reduced, and level of the lake was down and down. And this is united profile of brownish sands covering white silty sands. And these brownish sands are mostly of Aeolian origin, with structures of sedimentation typical for wind sedimentation. This means that at this time, lake was relatively big at phase B, but there was no water transported to the lake because of rains. This water was transported by using Yusuf Canal. And next at this time, this is datation of brownish sand using charcoal, made using charcoal from archaeological sites QS 780, and data is 3,500 BP in these Aeolian brownish sands. And now will be proposed small reconstruction of phenomenon connected with oscillation of the level of Lake Moeris near present Oazis Fayum. So starting from lake marls and diatomic sediments, after measurements, the level of the lake at this time was about 12 meters above sea level. This is sea level, and more or less about 12 meters. Of course, during sedimentation of lake marls, diatomic sediments, were oscillations, where one time this lake was slightly bigger, second time smaller, and sites, archaeological sites, are located there, or sometime there, in phases of sedimentation, where the size of lake was reduced, people sit near of the water. And next is break of sedimentation between lake marls and diatomic sediments and white silty sands. And is break, there was no rain, time was very dry, and level of the lake was reduced up to 7 meters above the sea level. Why? From where we know this? From location of archaeological sites. Archaeological sites earlier were localized there, but when size of the lake was reduced because of dry climate, people went to this to the shore of lake, and it was much near to the center of the lake. So from this location at time of lake marls up to this location during break in deposition during dry climate, etc. And next we have deposition of white silty sands, deposition by water transporting rainwaters, transporting material from tertiary cliff to the lake, and lake was enlarged, was bigger, and level of the water in this lake at this time was calculated for about 13 meters above sea level. And archaeological sites are again archaeological sites, AES, were located slightly farther from the center of the lake. And next is break between sedimentation of in lake, sedimentation of white silty sands and brownish sands. Climate is again dry and start to be drier and drier, and at this time at phase early phase stage, again archaeological sites migrated according to oscillation of shore of the lake, migrated to the center of the lake. There are these archaeological sites. And in stage B was continued drying of the climate. It started to be drier, no rains, etc. Level of lake was reduced up to 5 meters above sea level. Archaeological sites are again near of the center of the lake, and people's coming from the Sahara probably to this lake because it was one functioning lake where was sweet water. They migrated to the water. And next, about 1800 BC, was time of deposition of brownish sand, Aeolian deposition, was built Yusuf Canal, and water from Nile was transported to the Lake Moeris, and lake level of the lake was elevated up to 17 meters above sea level. From where we know this? Because in Castel Saga there is old harbor, and this elevation of the harbor is about 16-17 meters above sea level. So it means that at this time where the boats transporting various material, transport this material to Castel Saga, to harbor of Castel Saga. This means that level of the lake had to be about 17 meters above sea level, very high, and the lake was extremely big. And from this time at stage C, when this canal, Yusuf Canal, didn't work well, and transport of water from Nile to Moeris Lake was reduced, the level of the lake was reduced too, down and down. And archaeological sites like town of Castel Saga and various other sites were migrated systematically with the line of lake shore to the center of the lake. There was probably many stages, but generally climate was drier and drier, and site there was no rains, and size of this lake, Moeris, lake without outflow, was down and down and down. And at present time, level of Moeris Lake, Fayum Lake, in Oazis, is about 76 meters below sea level. There is the scale, and you may see scale 70 meters below sea level. It's in depression, and of course there are no archaeological sites, but it's small town around Fayum lakes. But between this stage and this stage of sedimentation and development of Lake Moeris, where of course many sites are archaeological, but they are on the surface of old bottom of Moeris Lake and were not covered with modern, younger deposit, and because of this they are eroded and damaged completely. They don't exist because wind and sand eroded these archaeological sites. Maybe there are some places where sites are preserved, but we didn't find. And this is general picture of present part of Moeris Lake, salty, practically without very rare organisms, and water is very salty. On the banks of the shores there are crystallization in small bays. There is crystallization of salt, and so. This presentation I show you give general impression concerning development of Moeris Lake and of Oasis Fayum. It's a rare case when geology, archaeology, and that C14 datation from archaeological sites help prepare reconstruction of climatic changes. It was possible, first of all, because of this, that lake was without outflow and did not react. It means it very well react on rains and dry periods, etc. And second thing is use of C14 datation from archaeological sites localized at various places for reconstruction of oscillation of the bank of the lake. Thank you for listening, and I wish you find other place interesting like this Moeris lake, Moeris Paleo, Moeris, it's a long history described in literature, for reconstruction of the climate and reconstruction for of human activity depending on climate changes. Thank you. Sorry for English, but problems are complex, and my knowledge of English is too complex, with great complex. Thank you very much, and see you again. Bye-bye.